Hey guys, how's it going? It is Mike from Mike's Garage, and today I got another good one for you. Today I'm going to show you how to properly replace a water pump on your car, your truck, anything. This can really go along with any vehicle. It's going to show you some pretty good tips, some pretty good tricks, some things like that that I have to show you from the dealership world, from all my experience and things like that. So starting off, the things you're going to need, you're going to need basic handles. You might need an electric ratchet. It might make it a little easier for you if you have it. Basic sockets. You might need some extensions. Depending on your fan and the type of fan you have that could connect to the vehicle, you might need a punch and a hammer, or a pry bar and a hammer. You're definitely going to need a paint marker. I'll show you why here in a little bit. Some gloves if you feel like it. You're going to need something to get the old gasket off the vehicle, like a little whiz wheel, if you have a razor, if you have a gasket scraper, something like that. And obviously, you're going to need a new water pump. You're going to need some coolant. And guys, this looks a lot worse than it is. It's really a very simple job. Once you get all the big stuff out of the way, the water pump's right down there. So, first thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to take the fan shroud out of the way. You're going to have to take the fan off. There's your water pump right there. And if you can see the wetness right here to the right when I move that, you can kind of see some wetness there. The water pump is leaking. So I came home from work the other day and you could hear a little drip, drip, drip. Open hood and you can see it coming out a little bit. Once I get the fan shroud out of the way, it's going to show you guys a little bit better what we have going on. But let's just jump right into it, guys. Like I said, this is very easy, very straightforward. Don't be too intimidated by this. If you feel like you need help, call a friend, call somebody who knows what they're doing, call a local mechanic, and get the help you need, guys. But let's just jump right into it. Alright guys, the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to take this fan shroud out. You want to assess the full situation first. Before you drain any coolant, you want to make sure you have the water pump, get a good visual inspection on it, make sure it's right. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take this fan shroud out of the way, show you guys how to do that. And this one's nice and easy. It's called a split shroud, which means there's two pieces to it. Some fan shrouds might come in one piece where you got to take the fan out. Some might come in two pieces. So let's just go ahead, take this little fan shroud out. The biggest thing for me is always leave these in order, whatever way you took them off or put them back on. Make sure you don't forget any bolts. Fan shroud's off. I'm going to set that to the side. So now we have a clear visual of our water pump. You can see it. You can see where the leak is now. You can see the fan. Everything's exposed on this. And so it looks very simple. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the fan off, then you're going to take the belt off, and then we're going to take the water pump off. But before we do that, there's something pretty big here. Something I don't think a lot of people do, and I think a lot of people should do. Alright guys, the next thing I feel is so important that a lot of people are going to miss. Using your paint marker to write your belt diagram. That's something so big that you jump right into a vehicle and you don't see it, you don't remember it because it's off and you're already into the job. Look, there's no belt diagram anywhere on this truck. It could have been before, but it's not anymore. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to properly draw a belt diagram so you don't forget the way the belt was routed. So you know you're going to have a cam or a water pump and a crank pulley. So I'm going to draw it right here on the battery. We have our water pump and we have our crank. Right above the water pump we have an alternator, and then right below that we have a power steering pump. So we're going to draw a alternator and then a power steering pump in the middle. Then we have our air compressor, we have our tensioner, and we have an idler down there. So we're going to draw air compressor, tensioner, and idler. Little baby idler. And that's the placement of everything. So we'll start with the crank. We know it goes up, around, around, underneath the water pump. So we'll go up, around, around, underneath the water pump, over the air compressor, over the tensioner, over the idler and then down from the idler. So it's basically on this truck just one big loop. Just like that. That's how you would draw your belt diagram. So easy, something so many people miss, but this is a very big step to me. Make sure you do that and you guys will be set. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take off this fan with a punch and a hammer. Go from there. Alright guys, so like I said, next thing's a fan. You're going to need a long punch, a long pry bar, and a hammer. You might need an air hammer. You might need a special tool. I would definitely consult your local parts store to see what you're going to need. I did spray some PB Blaster on this. Let it soak for a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you, this is the hardest part of doing this job. And I found that if you let it soak for a while, it'll be a little bit easier for you guys. So it's been soaking for a little bit. Let's go ahead and hit it, see if it just comes right off and we get lucky, or if we're going to beat on it for a couple minutes. One thing to know, if you're using a straight blade punch or pry bar like this, do not hit over. If you can see, I'm over to the right side, further closest to the pulley. If you're going to hit anywhere, hit closer to the left side or as close to the middle as you can get. It's going to be easier, and it's going to be easier to go back on, because you could end up damaging the outside flange and making it harder for it to screw on. So let's go ahead and do it. And you might have noticed as well, I did not drain any coolant yet. I will show you why in 1 minute. Alright guys, and just like that, we have the fan off. Like I was doing, always try to keep 2 hands on the fan. They are plastic, so you don't want to drop it and break one of those fins, because it throws off the motor balance. You're going to have to buy a new one. You'll never have proper cooling. I promise you, I've done it once before, and it's no good. So you learn from your mistakes. Like I always say, keep one hand on. And now is a good point. Check your belt diagram. Before you take everything off, double check that belt diagram. Make sure everything's good. And while everything's exposed, now is a good time. Check your new water pump. You want to make sure the new water pump is correct. You want to make sure it's the same as the other one. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then I have one more tip for that paint marker before you guys put it away. What we're going to do now is we're going to drain the coolant from the bottom of the radiator. We'll open this top, since now it's time. I'll show you guys what to do when you get down there. Alright guys, now that we're into the vehicle, there's 2 ways we can drain the coolant. You can either drain from the pepcock right there, which you can loosen that little nut and all the coolant will come out of the bottom, or you can take the hose off from here. The hose is going to be quicker. The pepcock to me is going to be a little cleaner. I always use the pepcock, although it is a little more dangerous, because if you're on an old motor, it could cause some damage to the radiator with just the plastic being brittle, and then you going in there getting your hands on it and something could break. I have yet to have that happen, but I've always heard that could happen, so always be cautious. If you feel it not moving, take precaution and try to use a lower radiator. Draining into our drain pan. Let's go back up top. Alright guys, so like I said, you have the radiator cap off, put the radiator cap on the battery, and still try to keep everything in order. There's 2 only bolts I took off. There's the radiator cap, and we're going to go under and we'll start draining the coolant. Alright guys, so now we checked the water pump. We've got the coolant draining as we speak. We're going to go ahead and take the belt off now. This is a very simple tensioner to take off. See, there's no tension on the belt now. See how loose that belt is? But when you let it down, all the tension's on it. So be very careful when you're taking this off. And just like that, lay it down with our extra parts we have and get to work. So now that we have the belt off, we're going to go ahead and start taking the water pump off. But I do have a quick tip for you guys. What I like to do is I always want to set the water pump somewhere flat. on the way it's going to go on the truck. So I have the water pump here. I just set this water pump right here. You can tell because the weep hole's up. Now what I like to do, sometimes I use different length bolts in these water pumps. So what I do is I'll take the top one out, and if it's a long, I'll write L where the top one goes, right here. I'll write an L right there. And then if that one's a short, I'll write S. I'll write S right there. If that one's a long, I'll write L, S. Usually that's how it goes. They'll usually alternate long, short, long, short, long, short. Sometimes it could be different. I've never done a water pump on a Dodge like this. So we're gonna find out because we're gonna dig right into it. And let's go ahead and do it. Alright guys, so the first thing I do is I put an extension on a wrench and I put the socket on. I want to test to make sure I can get this on every stud or nut without hitting something. There's one under. Well, here's the problem right here. There is a nut right there that I cannot get, if you can see it, or a bolt that I can't get my socket and extension on without me taking the idler off. So the idler is going to have to come off. And I can't get to that one either. One there, one here, and back to the top. So I can get all of them besides those bottom two. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take that idler off. Alright guys, we got the water pump out. The block is exposed here. You're going to lose a little bit of coolant. You still might. If you do, make sure you got that drain bucket down there just in case. And you can see where this thing was dripping right there from the bottom. You can see that browning right there. And then you can also see some dried coolant right up here at the top of the weep hole. All that lighter stuff would be some dried coolant. So the water pump was definitely leaking. We know that. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and put the new one on. But like I said, your bolts, make sure you're labeling all of them. Sometimes what I like to do, if I'm in a hurry at work, I'll just put them all in it so I know, and then I'll take a picture. But whatever works best for you, labeling is always going to be the surefire way, because when it's on, you're able to go on nice and easy and go from there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to clean this block up a little bit. I'll show you how to do that. I have a whiz wheel. I'm going to see if I can't find a razor, because I know a lot of you won't have a whiz wheel at home, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, and when you're using a razor like this, I have my razor, I also have a whiz wheel. I'm going to show you how to do both. Make sure you use proper protection. These are sharp, you can hurt yourself. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt out there. It's going to be better to use a whiz wheel, but when you have a razor, try to go along the edge and just kind of pull everything up. You can see all the old gasket on there kind of coming up. And then if you have a shop towel, go ahead and wipe it all up when you're done, and see where your next spots are that you're going to need to get. This old gasket's really on here, so this one's going to be a little bit of elbow grease if you're going to use a razor. And like I said, be careful, and you should have it done in no time. Alright guys, so we have the water pump here on the bench. We want to make sure the gasket fits, and we're going to make sure the gasket sticks. Usually there's going to be markers here, like this is going to go up top, and you have that's going to go on the bottom right there. You're going to go ahead and put it in, make sure it locks in, which it does. And usually, probably about 9 times out of 10, water pumps don't fail. It's actually the gaskets, and they just get so old and hard. They're going to, like this comes to a triangle point, but they're going to end up being flat. So that's going to be the problem, and then once it's flat, it won't mate to the block properly, and it's just going to leak coolant out of the bottom or the weep hole if the water pump does fail with the seal inside here. So usually, like I said, it's not going to be a water pump. It's more of a gasket problem, and we know this gasket fits nice. It's tight. It's not going anywhere. If you feel like it, you can put a little bit of RTV in a few corners to make it stick. You can put a little bit of copper gasket if you want to make it stick, but I think this is going to be fine just as it is. Let's go ahead and put it on the truck. Alright everybody, we're here. We're going to put the water pump on, and like I said, we're going to start the way we did last time. We got the gasket on, weasel the water pump back in there, and remember, we labeled our water pump long, short, so we know what bolts go where. So we're just going to start with the top bolt. This is a short. We're not going to tighten it fully, but we want it to seat. Make sure we're on straight. There we go. We almost go. There we go. Make sure your bolts are accounted for. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to tighten these, but I'm going to go every other bolt. So I'll start there. Ooh, mess up the camera now. I'll start there, then I'll go to the top, then I'll just keep going every other bolt. So, like I said, and we're not tightening fully. We're just. Okay, so now there's the first one we tightened. So we're going to go to the next one and then go every other bolt. Alright, so now we're going to tighten as hard as the wrench will go, and then we'll hand tighten from there. Guys, so we got the water pump tight. It is on. All the holes are tight. Now you don't want to go too crazy because this case is an aluminum timing case. So you don't want to rip any of the threads out or anything. But next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that idler back on. We're going to put the belt on, and then I'm going to show you how to properly burp the vehicle, and we're going to go from there. All right, everybody, we got the belt on, we got the idler on. I went down there, I closed the weep hole, I did it all. So we're ready to put coolant in this. I didn't bring a funnel home. I want to show you guys how to burp a system without having a funnel. It's going to be harder, but I know a lot of you guys don't have funnels if you're doing this at the house or whatever, so a little bit here to help you all out. The weep hole's closed, the fan's not on, and the shroud's not on yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour coolant in. I'm going to let as much burp out as I can, and then I'll put the fan on and the shroud on, and then I'll run it for a few minutes, turn it off, add coolant, run it for a few minutes, turn it off, and it should be good. Alright guys, we let it run for about 30 seconds. We're going to add some more coolant, and then we're going to let it run for maybe a minute, turn it off, see if we need more coolant. Then I'm going to put the cap on, and then we're going to let it run, see how it goes. Alright guys, that is it. That's how you replace your water pump. Very easy, very simple, straightforward. If you were to do this at a dealership, it pays over 3 hours. So figure $300 in labor and $100 for parts. You're looking at 400 bucks. I just did this for myself at 60 bucks. I mean, so right there, how much money did you save? I mean, it's perfect, it's great, you get to work on your own car. One tip before I let you guys go, I always like to add a little bit more water in the reservoir. I have to go get some more green coolant, put it in there later. Run until the thermostat opens and you should be good to go. Well, that is it, guys. So thank you for the view. Please like, don't forget to subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at firetruckmechanic, and leave a recommendation in the comment section. Tell me what you want to see next. And guys, we will see y'all on the next one.